my group decided to talk about technology. And when you really think about it, technology has been such a big part of the modern world. It makes us the way we are today. It affects the environment we're in, and we are affected by it all the time. Technology has had a lot of improvements over the last 100 years, with cars being invented, the assembly line being invented by Henry Ford. We have the space race in the 60s against Russia. Nuclear weapons are being made. Just everything blew up over, the past 100 years. Obviously, as we come to the 2000s, we see the revolutionary idea of the internet and computers becoming higher tech, smartphones coming around in the late 2010s, and everything just becoming completely different than it used to be. When we see back to our elders, we see they had to do things much differently when they were in school. I like to really think about how school would have been different for them than it is for my generation. It is hard for me to imagine life without the internet. It's very, very hard for my brain to have the concept in it of what it was like before the internet was made. I don't know how people would ever look up anything. I mean, they couldn't look up anything. How would you find information? It was so much more difficult. You'd have to go to a library, or you'd have to ask people who were experts on the subject. And same thing goes for not having your own cell phone. Imagine, it's crazy for me just to think 50 years ago, people are calling on a landline. They have to dial up an operator to be able to call anybody, and anybody could listen in on their call. It's just a very different world we live in now. It has definitely become easier with technology, but technology has also caused many societal gaps. With technology, when you have Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook or Twitter, you start following people. You start following ideas that you like, things you support. When you do this, it feeds you more and more things just like this and tries to feed everything to you that you would appreciate. When this happens, you get polarized from other people, because other people might have very opposite opinions of you. But because Instagram and these social medias are feeding you all kinds of information that just pushes what you think, then you have trouble understanding other people. This causes division in our society. The other thing with social media is that it causes lots of cyberbullying in places where kids go and they just try to release themselves on there, and it doesn't help a lot of relationships. The relationships aren't real. It's very hard with social media to actually have a deep conversation with somebody when you're not face to face with them. I've noticed in the past couple of years that I've really started trying to talk to people more in real life and less over Snapchat or Instagram or even on the phone, because if I'm going to have a deep conversation with somebody, I'd rather not do it over the phone. I'd rather do it in person. You realize that there really is a connection when you're face to face with somebody. You can see them, you could feel them, they're right there. When it's through a screen, it kind of has a disattachment, and you don't feel like you're in charge of the actions or the things you are doing. So although technology has been great in advancing our population, or our production of society, our means to learn, it's done all kinds of great things for society, it has also hindered us in many ways. Lastly, my parents, when they talk about going to school, talk about how they would have to go to the libraries, look up everything, and work on their school in very different ways than we do. Whereas nowadays everything is online, but sometimes that can be hard, because with everything online, there's so many different sources, so many different ways you can get information, that it becomes hard to sift through these sources. Another thing is, when I was talking to the professors when we were doing our interviews, they told me that they thought technology was great for society, and it greatly improved learning abilities and ability to learn faster, but it also hindered our connection on a personal level. Basically, the biggest things about technology nowadays are our smartphones. We literally have a computer in our back pocket that is more powerful than all the computers combined that sent the first rocket to the moon. When you think about that, that's crazy. Just in 50 years, from the late 60s to the mid 2010s, we have gone from thousands of computers all into one tiny little cell phone that you stick in your back pocket. All the information is also out there too. There's just so much in the world with technology, and it's great to see technological improvements, but we also have to be careful, as we need to focus on our personal connections with people and realize that one-on-one, face-to-face connection with people is still the best there is. Although the phones are very convenient and amazing, and technology has made lives very easy and much more suitable to some sense, it also has caused much more depression, anxiety, people struggling to find what they want to do in the world, and making people feel lost and hopeless. We need to move forward and realize that technology is a beautiful thing, but we need to know how to use it correctly. Thank you.